All right, good to go. All right, the only two roster moves we had today was we signed Sed back to practice squad, and then Kevin Austin got waived from the 53. So probably have a couple other little moves. It's just we juggle a couple of those things here the next couple of days. So yeah, open up for questions.
Just going back and watching the film, what did you see? And maybe did you talk about
Yeah, I think it was just a good example of impact plays happen in any of the four quarters, and we had too many of them that negatively impact us early in this game, put us in behind. It wasn't all bad at the beginning of the game. I thought our defense, for example, offense, I felt like first drive you're doing well, got a first down in there, we're moving it, and then third down missed stop, fourth down missed stop, and then defensively I thought we responded pretty well. We did have the miss sack opportunity with the scramble. Sam made a great play, and then we responded really well, settled in, going to force them a field goal. We make a really poor decision in a play, and then obviously a couple of special teams plays early, and quickly went negative for us.
Why do you think you guys have gotten off a slow start every week so far?
Yep, that's a big thing that we have to find a way to get better at. Something that we got to talk about and navigate. Obviously, it's not where it needs to be. There's little moments that are good. There's just not the consistency early in games, and so that's shown up too many times.
Do you script like the first 15, or are you kind of more like go by feel?
Yeah, we have an openers early in the game, and obviously the situations dictate which ones you call based off that. But you spend a lot of time early in games as far as formulating that and in all three phases.
What have you seen just since the game from your veteran leadership on the team and how they've kind of responded?
Yeah, I think we got the right guys, and that's the beauty of this thing is, we're not where we want to be. We're not in the situation we anticipated. We're 0-3. We've missed 3 opportunities so far this year. But I think our guys are working the right way. They understand, it's all about how you respond to these situations. There's too many examples in our league of people, having setbacks like this and being able to respond the right way. And so we got to be one of those teams that does it like those teams. We got to replicate that. We got to get better with some urgency. We got to get better quickly. But, I think our guys will respond the right way, and we got to get it done, though.
Joel mentioned yesterday a desire to be more vocal just as a leader. Do you feel like you have the vocal side of the leadership that you need on this roster right now, or is that something that you're still building?
Well, I think leadership's always growing. I think it's always growing and evolving, and I think we got a lot of leaders on this team. We got a lot of good examples, guys who've been here for a number of years, guys who just showed up. We got to find our stride. We got to play better football, and when you play better football, it leads into all the other good stuff that we're really close to.
what do you kind of see in the pass defense and opposing quarterbacks, like just finding so many targets like in
Yeah, I think just when you're playing mixed down football on first and second down, we're not getting the rush that we need in those pass action game situations, and they're creating layered concepts, and we're giving up too many of those explosive chunks in those situations because there's too much other good within that. But those flip the field, those flip drives, they score quickly at times, and so we got to do a better job of cleaning that up.
When you say you're getting close to, is it because the young players, is it a mental thing, is it physical that is stopping them from reaching the goal and just being close?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything. Obviously, we do have some young players, but that's no excuse. Those guys, we brought them into play. That's the expectation. And so we have to play cleaner football. We have to execute at a much higher level. We got to continue to evolve from a schematic standpoint and put ourselves in the best possible situation. And so, there's got to be urgency with this. We got to get it corrected. I think we do have the right people. We'll get there, and it'll be exciting to see our guys finally get there.
What's the process for just like the pre-snap penalties and getting those cleaned up?
Yeah. Obviously a big time discussion, and obviously, we've put a lot of time and investment on it from getting referees here during training camp, the last couple weeks in practice. We have to find the solution to how it translates going into the games. Obviously, that was a hostile environment. It's a loud environment, but that's what we expected. And we put ourselves in too many situations where, there's good, and then the momentum stops because of these silly penalties, and really in all three phases. All three phases had a piece of it.
Were you guys able to replicate the crowd noise being up there on Friday? Like, do you have the equipment out there to do
Yeah, we
it?
had the equipment. Yep, we had the same environment we had all week here.
when you bring the refs in, like for practice, are they throwing a lot of flags or not really?
A couple here and there. I think that's the frustrating part is the procedural stuff. I feel like the last 2 weeks in practice has been much better. We've had very few of them, And so for them to come back up in the game, obviously we got to find where that can we can help that translation, because we're taking steps in the non-competitive environment. Now we got to translate to the competitive.
Is there a thought to maybe scaling back on pre-snap motion to maybe limit your offense, but maybe it makes it cleaner? Or do you say the standard's the standard and that's not a possibility?
Combination of all that, I think we have to be very honest in our evaluation each week and put ourselves in the best position, because if we got to clean it up, however that means, play simpler football, if that's what it requires, you got to focus in on the little things. And so we definitely need to take some steps. We need to evaluate it, and that's what this week will be all about.
What was the honest evaluation coming out of this game for something like that? Like, are you considering doing things like that, like scaling back a little bit?
Yeah, we just got to find a way to execute at a higher level, and part of that is pre-snap. I think you talk about executing as post-snap, but pre-snap we got too many little things, and maybe we just got to clean it up and put ourselves in a better situation, because if we execute, we're doing just fine, but we're not executing at a high enough level pre-snap and post-snap.
Saying you would rather keep it as it is and continue to watch the standard grow to meet what it is that you're looking for, rather than start to take things out?
No, I think we just got to evaluate it from both sides of that spectrum. I think we got to see how this week transpires as far as the game plan, what we need. Again, we got to keep it tight, as tight as we can, so we can go out and execute really well.
If you scale back, does that put more on the quarterback though? Like maybe you think getting those easy reads, pre-snap, and the tells and
We'll have to see this thing. We'll have to see how this thing progresses. I think I think we can't lose the good that's going on. I think that, like, for example, tempo offense, there's been a lot of positives associated with this. The one little bit that seems to nag us a little bit is some of these pre-snap penalties associated with it, and so we got to play better in it because there's too much good going on. But we also have to evaluate it, and we can't keep having these pre-snap issues.
What did you see on the block punt and the punt return? Like, the thing particularly stood out.
Yeah, the block punt, I think, really we just got to execute at a higher level. We got to communicate, say simply, we're not all on the same page. And so that's when you're not on the same page, that's when a free runner shows up. And so, felt like, we have certainly a lot of control on that. The punt return, we have a couple shots down there. We don't get it, and then we lose leverage. And, they made a great play. They got ahead of the blocks and, got a big play out of it.
Yeah, the punt block, was that specifically, you don't have to say who, but was that specifically some sort of an assignment error? Because it obviously seemed like you had enough guys.
Yeah. We're fine numbers-wise. It was simply, not being on the same page, and it really was a combination of people. It wasn't just one person. There's not one person that blatantly, doesn't block a guy. We got a number of people that just have to be coordinated and understand their responsibilities and the calls, and everyone's a part of that one.
Spencer mentioned after the game yesterday about the need to sort of work, or desire at least, to work on more scramble drill situations in practice. What's your evaluation of the scramble drill so far this season and how you've executed?
Definitely one of our notes on offense. We did not, plays are designed to go on time, and at times, a lot of times, in this league, they become off schedule, and we're not doing a good enough job. Jack's was a great example. Jack did a phenomenal job. He got to the back corner in a scramble drill, found the voided zone, and catch the touchdown as a result of it. And there's too many other times where we're not mirroring the quarterback, running back to the quarterback to find ourselves opportunities where we can at least steal yards. I think so many of the top offenses in our league, the scramble drill is certainly a big component. We're going to play a team this week that does it better than anyone in the league, and so they have the ability to play on schedule, but then off schedule, Josh is as good as anyone in this league.
Is that like I'll ask it the stupid way. Is that a reps thing? Is that a rules thing? Like, how do you go about working that and trying to recreate that environment in practice?
Yeah, there's definitely drills, and there's guidelines. There's guidelines associated with the rules of how to do the scramble drill, and then from there, it's a matter of executing that portion. We always say there's the two parts to every pass play. There's the original intent, and then there's the scramble phase, and the scramble phase shows up for every single team in this league, and so. The play's still alive. There's still big play opportunities. Their first explosive play is a scramble. We have a sack opportunity. They turn into scramble. Their receiver does an excellent job of working away and mirroring the quarterback. And so, those things are things that we need to grow in.
Going back to the pass defense, how do you feel like y'all have done against play action? How do you feel like y'all?
Yeah. I think that goes back to that mix down situation. Obviously, there's been a few play action chunks early. Again, we just got to do a better job there.
that after a loss like that, the whole kind of team is tested and the resolve that you have to have. From your perspective, do you call like your dad who was a coach or somebody who may have been there just to make sure you don't like change or waver in any way?
I think we just got to communicate really closely as a staff, as an organization. Continue to communicate about this. We got to have the same message, and really link in together as far as being very specific and intentional on what we need to address, what we need to keep encouraging. Because again, any game you can come out of it and see positives and see negatives, and so we got to acknowledge both sides of the spectrum. We got to keep this thing moving. We're 0 for 3. We got opportunities ahead of ourselves. We need to focus on that, but correct the things that we need to correct and get this thing moving.
Would you say, I mean, from the time you left the stadium till the time you went to bed, flight home, whatever,
Yeah.
was it any different for you than it usually is? Did you do anything different, think about anything differently, or you just do everything the same all the time?
I mean, you have a very similar process. It's a much longer flight, obviously, coming back from Seattle. And so, you spend a little bit more time just reflecting on, okay, moving forward, what's our next steps? And so, really focusing on, okay, how do we address the certain situation we're in? And then also, certainly, we're moving forward. We're going to play a really good football team on Sunday in Buffalo. And so how we respond is going to be really, really impactful. But again, there's too many examples of teams that have gone through these challenging games like this. And they're sometimes really good momentum shifters. You can really, if your team responds the right way, this can be a good little pivot for our team to get better and draw closer to each other and kind of take all the other stuff out of it and just get better.
To that point, what gives you the confidence that this group can respond and execute on high level, of course, with so much season left ahead?
Yeah, I thought a couple examples. Our guys kept fighting the whole second half. There's a lot of examples of you can let down and play whatever. I thought our play style, DeMario, I think was an incredible example of the way he was playing all the way through the end of the game. In all three phases, I thought we kept competing. And so we're competing. The locker room, I felt after the game, the guys knew we missed an opportunity. We didn't play very well. I think everyone will acknowledge that. But I thought the attention to and desire to improve and get better was right there, and you can feel it in the so far today in the weight room and in the team meeting room, and so our guys are going to respond.
How do you, just as you're evaluating it, your kicker's so automatic all training camp, and then you get in the season and it's shaky every game, how do you weigh those two very different things?
Yeah. Obviously, we just missed some opportunities so far, and so just like any phase of our team, we got to get better in every phase. I think certainly specialists will say the same thing. They're just like everyone else on our team, and so we just got to get better.
Just to be thorough, I know that the game was determined kind of out of hand when Tyler came in. Spencer is the quarterback, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Any reason that y'all aren't going to Buffalo early? I've already seen the schedule.
Just it's one time zone apart, and so plus we had the 2 time zone travel last week, and then 1 time zone this week. We didn't want to be all over the place, so this week we'll create a little bit of continuity, and we'll head up Saturday.
Health-wise, did y'all kind of come out okay? Or?
Yeah, nothing to note that should impact our game this week. So yeah, obviously that's good based off the first couple weeks. We've had a couple of these show up on Monday, and so we should be heading in the right direction there.
Was Tyler Flogga pretty clearly not going to be close, or did he get closer than expected?
Yeah, it was just a day-to-day thing. Obviously, we let the whole week play itself out all the way through Sunday, and so it just didn't happen for us, unfortunately. And so we'll just again take the same process this week. We'll see how he progresses, and we'll go from there.
Do you feel like Chase Young is maybe where you would like him to be at this point, and with the chance to potentially?
Yeah, hopefully. I think sometimes those are tricky injuries. Just when you're dealing with the calf, and so sometimes you gotta see how this thing progresses. And so he's doing everything he can. I know his desire is to be out there as soon as humanly possible. But you gotta understand the medical aspect of this thing is real, and you gotta do what's right for him from not just this week, but from a season-long perspective.
Is it hard, 3 games in, some stuff isn't going right, to know what's just a small sample or what's the trend? Is that something that you have to kind of evaluate, make sure you're not overreacting to something or not overreacting over here?
Yeah, I think we're approaching that point. When usually the 4-game mark usually gives you a little bit of a telling mark as far as where you're at. And seasons are long. You're going to have to make adjustments. You're going to play a lot of different styles, and so we got to focus on just playing cleaner football, playing better football, putting ourselves in more favorable situations, and we'll see how that plays out.
So look at it a little more, how do you feel about Quincy Riley and him taking advantage of the opportunity that he got?
Yeah, Quincy's a really good player. Obviously, we think highly of him. It was awesome to see him out there. I thought the cool thing was, certainly we've seen the coverage standpoint of his skill set throughout training camp and through preseason. For him to fit that run really well and end up creating a fumble, that was a really good play for him. I thought it was an awesome example of his growth, and so we'll just see how this thing progresses.
When you talk about how really tough games can sometimes help teams coalesce a little better, obviously there's a lot of examples around the league, but do you have any specifically that you think about in your career as a assistant coach or a quarterback even that you're touching on to get that across?
I think we kind of went through it as a team. Everyone's been through these. If you've played football long enough, you've dealt with a game like what we dealt with on Sunday. Last year we lost to Tampa in a really challenging situation. We got to 2-2 in Philly, and it was a game similar as far as they just got out in front really, really quickly. And so, we can all lean on a bunch of different examples. Certainly that one. In Dallas, we had a couple. We lost to Denver in 21 really bad. They just got out in front of us, and we couldn't catch up. And so, they're great opportunities for us to pivot, reevaluate, lock in together, and get really, really, improved. All good. All right. Thanks, guys.